Hi, my name's Jeff Rhodes, and I've got another video for you today. We're going to look at PowerApps and how we can have a list of users and then email those users. So this is all in support of my new book, Creating Business Applications with Office 365 Techniques in SharePoint, PowerApps, Power BI, and more. So you can get some info about it here. You can pre-order it on Amazon. It's the #1 new release in SharePoint guides, it says right now, but it's coming in February and perhaps before. So let's get started. So we've got, our office here, and already gone into the site that I want to do here. I'll close PowerApps because we don't need that right now. And kind of building on an earlier example that we had. So let's actually go on this tab. We don't need this one right now. And previously we made a purchases PowerApps list, and we're going to build on that. But let me talk about this accounting users. So what we did, and you may have seen my InfoPath one, it was quite involved in InfoPath to do what we want to do. We're going to see it's easier in PowerApps here. But we've got a list. We had displayed it as an account here, which is why it's got kind of a funky format. And we've got a phone number. We've got a yes/no box, a Boolean saying, do we want to send an email notification? And then we've got an alternative email address. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and use this list so that the end user can maintain here instead of to go into PowerApps and start changing code, which is dangerous to allow our users do that. Instead, just say, okay, you just maintain this list, and when somebody goes on vacation or you get a new person, then we go ahead and just update this list. So like if this person goes on vacation, we can send the email notifications to this person, that kind of thing. All right, so let's go back and look at our list. So we did this in an earlier video, and but what we need is another checkbox. So we have a title and amount, and we already set up, we want this approved by accounting to be locked down based on that same list. We already have that working, but what we want to do is have another box here that says, okay, I'm ready to send this to accounting, and then it'll notify accounting. And I know Flow and so forth has some, and we'll do some videos on that where it can use Outlook to send some approvals, but I want to show how to do it in PowerApps. So let's go ahead and just add a column for now. So we're going to say yes, no, and we're going to say send to accounting, and we'll default this to no. Now normally if we were leaving this in a SharePoint form, we'd have to go into the content type and change the order and so forth. But since we're doing our form in PowerApps anyway, we'll just move it around in there. So let's just customize form here in PowerApps. And again, there's an earlier video where we set this form up in the first place. So I do encourage you, it does help me quite a bit if you subscribe. So it doesn't really cost you anything, but just subscribe, because YouTube looks at that to see how many subscribers that you have and so forth. So all right, so you can see I've got my form here, and the fields or the columns that I have already are set up. So I can go add field here, and find it here, send to accounting. So I want that part of my form, and then I can drag that up, because what I want to do is have it in the workflow. Okay, so I could even draw a little line or whatever, but for this it'll be fine. Now what we did last time, just to kind of review, and I'm going to bring my little zoom tool up here, and what we did is we took this on the data card and we went into the display mode. And I'll zoom in there a little bit. So that's what we did last time. So we already have a data connection to our accounting users, and we filtered that. So what we basically said, okay, is the current user there, this is the current user right here, these guys, this one, and is the user email in that column, that's one of our columns, is user, or does it match my current user? If it does, then we'll have that row will be 1 basically, and it'd be greater than 0. So if so, we're just going to use the parent display mode, which when we're editing the form will allow it to edit. Otherwise, we hard code it to view so that they can't change whatever the accounting approval was. All right, so that's what we have got so far. All right, and so what we want to do here is on the send to accounting, what we're looking to do is say, okay, if it's the first time that we set this to true, then we want to email everybody in that accounting users list to tell them there's a new form for them to go to. So that's our challenge here. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to want to do a global variable, because we need to know what was this form's value to start with. Okay, and there's a couple places we can do it, but one that works pretty well is to do it on the onVisible. So we can do a context variable or a global variable, and in this case either one of them will work. So we've got our form, we've got our data source, but let's see if we can find that. Yeah. Oh, that's because I'm on the form screen. I want to be on the onVisible. I don't see it there either. Oh, I keep changing it. Yeah, I'm doing exactly what I want. Yeah, well, let me pause for a minute and make sure we figure out exactly where I'm going, because it doesn't look right so far. Be right back. All right, well, I was close. I actually wanted it to be the screen and not the form itself. And that does have the onVisible property, so that's what I was trying to do. Oh, and you see I did some of this already. So I already was checking the initial approved, which is this checkbox, and we're finding out what it was, because we wanted to use that later on, and I forget now exactly what we were doing with it, but we'll go back and look at that. So I can put a semicolon. I can just copy this because I really want to do the same thing. So I'm just going to give it a new name, and I'll say initial send to accounting. And then this SharePoint integration dot selected, that's the current list item that I'm on. So this is my column that I want to read, and I just can say send to accounting. And then I can format that if I want, just to get us a little bit better thing. So it just has two statements, two sets. So we set the variable and the semicolon in between to run both. So now I know if that was what we were doing with that. So that's excellent. All right. And now our next thing we want to do is when they change it. Okay, so let's go in here. Oh, and we don't want to be in approved by accounting. We want to be in this one, send to accounting. Right, and so what we want to do is when they're doing that, but we don't want to send it actually when they just check the box. They could be moving it back and forth. We want to actually wait until they actually submit it. Okay, so what we can do there is, let's find the right one. It's another one of the on ones. Maybe I'm closer here. There we go, on success. Okay, and it already has this in there, reset form and request hide. But what we want to do is go ahead and send them an email. So when they've successfully saved the form. Okay, so we'll put on our semicolon, we'll say if. So we'll want to say, okay, if, and we want to look at our data card here. So you can see this is data card value 6. dot value equals true, and initial send to accounting equals false. So if that's the case, then what we want to do is we want to basically send email, and I'll save that because we got some more stuff to do. Otherwise, just say false like that. So we'll have an error because we haven't gotten to the send email part yet. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. Let's go over to our data sources. So if we come in, let me get rid of all this because it's kind of in the way. So if we view, come on. Oh, they're over here on the left. Sorry, I was looking for them to be on the right. Depends what kind of app we're writing. So notice we've got purchases and PowerApps, but those are our two SharePoint lists. But we want other connectors, and we want Outlook. So we're going to add our Outlook, and that's what we're going to be able to send email. So let's just show how it works first. So let's go back to here, and we'll go back to on. Oh, it's this guy on success. And so we're going to say, we're going to say Outlook. Let's go back to those data sources. Oh, it's Office 365. Sorry, it's the Outlook one, but I need to do it from Office 365. So let's try it again. Yeah, send. So see how I've got this IntelliSense send email, and then it tells me to. So let's just first put just to get the gist of it. So I'll just hard code it. And then I can say subject body like that. And we'll fill all those in. And we can format it. So far we've got it. And again, let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see it better. So that's our thing. So we're gonna, what we've got to now do is redo some logic for the email, and then we'll look at what's in our list and what's in our body to send them the information. Now it turns out to be a little more complicated than we might think. So we've got our email, and one of the problems is by default, at least on a personal version of Office 365, is it won't send out to a non-365 user. So even though I put this email in there, after some testing, I've realized that it won't send to that email at all. It'll only send it to my Office 365 one. So no problem there, but that's something that's a bit of a gotcha. The other thing from a logic standpoint, what we'd like to do is actually loop through, like we did in InfoPath. You know, we did the REST query, the representational state transfer, and then got our users in looped and send each one a private email. Even though they have the for all syntax, at least I couldn't figure out a way to get it to loop and send each one through it. So let's do a little technique. We'll come back and replace that. But what I'll often do in in PowerApps is do like a label to try to help us debug. So let's do that here. So kind of give us a little bit of sense. So I'm gonna make this a little bit shorter here, or give us maybe, or I'll just put a label on top. So I'm just gonna input a label, and it puts it up above, but I'll just throw it below here. So let's just put it there. And what we want to do is we want to see if we can figure out how to read our users and concatenate all of them together, all our accounting users. So So I'll try to get right on the first one, but we're going to use a new function we haven't used it in the videos yet called concat, which is kind of nice. So we can use concat like that, and you'll see it. The first one is a expression. So we could just put our accounting users, you see we're in there, but we want to filter that and put our accounting users. And then there's another gotcha, send email notification. When I was doing this before recording, is I tried to put equals true there and it didn't work. So it turns out if it's a yes, no, we need to say equals 1. So that's definitely a gotcha there. So that gives us the filter. Then what we want to do is now we pick the column, but we had a little bit more. Remember we had this alternate email address. So we can say if, and then we'll use the isBlank function. Alternate email address. So if that's blank, then we want to go to the user column and get the email. Otherwise, we want to go ahead and use that alternate email address column. So we're not quite done, because then for the concat, we need to tell it what we're going to concatenate it with. So we're going to put the semicolon on there, like that. And you can see what's kind of nice is even in our development environment, if I zoom in there, oops, see if I can scroll down a little bit. Can't quite get that down there. Oh, well. Whoa. All right, well, trust me, you can kind of see it down here that it's got my name. Now, from what I told you earlier, we need to go in and change this actually. So let's go ahead and change this. So what I'm gonna do is just see if I can get 2 copies. I'm gonna edit that, and I'm actually gonna get rid of this email address because I don't want to use it. And then what I'll do for our other user, notice that it excluded this user because this send email notification was actually set to false or to no. So we'll edit that. And I'll go ahead and just put my Office 365 email in there to see if I can get 2 copies. You can hear my emails coming in because I want to test that, and I'll set this as yes. Okay. Actually, I'm going to close the email for now just so I don't have to hear those notifications, and we'll bring it back earlier. Okay, so let's try that, and then if we may take a minute until this is live, but let's go ahead and publish that, and this should update with that info after it kind of reads it again. So I'll save it. Publish it to SharePoint. And as we've seen on a few on these before, if we might need to refresh a couple times. Let's see what we got. So if we come in here and edit, yeah, so we can see, let's look. So we've got, oh no, that one's still reading my old one that I was testing with. So let's try to refresh it again. Ah, that's better. So I've got it twice. So now we have 2 users, and notice both of them have the Office 365 email. So we're getting one from my user.email and the other one from that alternate email address. So we're looking good there. So the other thing this helps us with is that we can go in, and now that we've figured out, oh, and you can't really tell, but it's got a semicolon at the end. So it'll actually have an extra semicolon, and we could do like a left function and check the length and get rid of it, but it's actually the okay just to leave it, because if there's an extra semicolon, the email functionality will actually just skip it. So no problem there. All right, so we can take all of that and put it in, whoops, put it in for the email address. All right, no error messages yet. So what are we going to do for the subject? Well, we might say something like approval needed. And then we could put the name of the item in it. And if you might notice, this data card value 1 is the item. Yeah, so we got a space. So like Visual Basic, the concatenate operator in PowerApps is the ampersand. So we can say data card value 1 dot text. All right, and then the body. So in the body, what we really want is we want to send HTML email so that it looks good, and we're going to put a hyperlink in there. So I'll say, dear accounting, if I can spell right, user. And if you might know on HTML, to get the hard returns, we put a break tag in it like that. And we don't really need the space, but it's okay. And then what we might do is say, okay, who is it that sent the thing? And so we might do that SharePoint integration dot selected dot created by. That's the person who made the record, because we didn't actually store the user in a name, so that's basically all we have. But we can get the display name, and we'll continue. Space has requested approval for the purchase of, and we already know how to read that. That was that data card value 1 dot text, because they could have changed the name. So we don't want to get from the selected, we want to get from the, because it hasn't been updated yet. Or we're really not sure since we're in the save process. All right. Where's my ampersand? There we go. Period. And now we want to say, give them a link to it. So let's go ahead and put a couple more breaks in there. And now we're going to want to build some HTML. So we're going to say anchor href. And it's easier if I do single quotes here, because I can escape them, but it'll work either way. And let's go back to our list then. So what we really want to do is say, okay, how can we edit it? So let's go back to this edit. And notice it's got this nice copy link here. So we're going to copy that. But we won't hard code it, we'll see. So I'm going to paste that in there. I'm not actually getting a paste, so let me paste it that way. And if you look closely, and if you kind of play with it, you don't need these things, but we do need this ID. That's the item that we're editing. So what we can do is build that part of it in there. So we can again use that SharePoint integration dot selected, and we just want the number, the ID, like that. And then we want to close the quote. And then, since it'll be in an email, we don't need to put a target or anything. And then, so we'll say, click here to review this request. And then we can close the anchor like that. And be nice and put another quote like that. There we go. So it looks like it's something that it doesn't like there. Oh, looks like we're not closing the parentheses. I've probably forgotten an ampersand somewhere, so let me look at that for just a minute. Oh, right. See, I forgot it right there. There we go. That went away. All right, but we're not quite done, because what happens if you test it now is it doesn't default to HTML, and also it comes through as a low importance, which I find kind of annoying. So what we can look up how to do it, we need to create an object. So we have an is HTML, and you see it shows up down here. And we say that is true, And then we also can say importance. And you could put high, but I'll just put normal there, like that. All right. So we can format that so that it looks nice. Get a big long thing. So let's test it. Oh, and actually now that we're going to be done, we can get rid of this label here. So we think we're done with that on there. So let's save. And publish. And again, one way it's nice if we can tell, because we'll have to refresh this a couple times. We'll know if we don't see this label at the bottom that we've got the new form. So let's reload, and all these are already send to accounting. All right, so let's just do a new one, and let's see if we see that label. We don't. All right, so let's just say we want to buy a camera for $240, and we want to send that to accounting right now. So let's give that a shot. I'm gonna fire up my email on my other monitor. Let's see if we get an email coming in. It's checking them as we speak. Again, I really should get 2 emails coming in. One, both of them to my Office 365, but one that was for Sue, and one was for me because I used the same one. So let me pause for a second because my email's not the fastest, and we'll check it out. All right, well, let's continue debugging. So the first thing to report is I did not get an email, so I've been debugging that, but thought I'd turn on the camera as we did it. So what I did is I got rid of the if condition, and then I did immediately get an email. I noticed there was an extra greater than sign that came in, so I'm going to delete that now. But of course I saved my condition, so something's wrong with our logic here. So I'm going to go back to our form. So right now it's sending an email no matter what on the save. And then, so let's see if we can figure it out together. So notice I deleted that label that I had. So let's put it back in, throw in a label, and let's just say, okay. And I'll just paste that in. So we'll say, let's just do, so we'll say, checkbox value equals, and then so we're expecting that to be true, and then we'll check our initial send to accounting is, see what that value is, see if we can figure out why that one doesn't work. So we'll say equals that. Let's put in our variable because it's a little hard to kind of see. So you can see right now it doesn't have a value, and the accounting is false, and we should put a space in there just so we can see it a little better. All right, so let's try that again. So we'll go in and we'll save. We'll publish to SharePoint. Come over here and notice it didn't work for me when I tried to edit it or do a new form. But let's since that's how we were testing, let's go into a new form and see if this. So the checkbox value is false, and that's true. And then we move it over, it goes to true, and the initial send to accounting is false. So that really should have given us our email. So let's do a test here and just see if we get the email, because right now it's sending no matter what. So I'll fire up my email on the other monitor. Let's see what we get. Yep, and that came in Oh no, sorry, this is an old one that was sitting there waiting to go. So that one has our link and so forth, but it's an older one. So let me refresh, see if I can get this new one to come in. All right, well, mystery solved. I found some of these in my junk mail and also just had some delays getting these sent. So let's go ahead and fix it. Looks like the original logic did work okay, so that's good. So let's go ahead and go back to our if here. And I'll paste back what we had. Oh, and by the way, you can do shift and enter if you want to. And then we needed false, and then another one. So we could do shift and enter, or we can just format text when we're done. All right, so we've got our logic. Putting that in, I'm going to go ahead and hit. We'll go back out. We don't need this anymore. So we've got it figured out. And we'll save it. And publish it. So we didn't really cover, here's one of the original ones that I did earlier that had that extra space in it that eventually showed up. But let's check our link. So if we click it, you'll see it does go in. It gives us to an edit form. Since I gave it a display, I could have done edit form here, and then I could have gone right into the edit version, but it comes back to our form. So, all right, well, kind of a long, a little bit longer of a video today, but I hope that this has been helpful and that's useful in PowerApps. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to leave some comments. Thanks.